All right, everybody, this is Eric Hayden. I'm a meteorologist with the Weather Service out of the Newport office. It's just after 9:30. It looks like our numbers for the webinar have kind of stabilized. So we're going to get started with this. Leading off with this graphic off the top, want to emphasize the potential for power outages, and folks could be without power for a couple days, becoming more confident about a significant icing event, especially for some of our counties. And then needless to say, with the snow and ice, driving will be extremely dangerous to impossible at times, especially through the day Friday night into Saturday itself. So I want to emphasize that off the top. You should have all received this briefing in your email inbox earlier this morning, so I won't go over each slide too in depth, but I want to point out a couple key points. Snow amounts have not changed too much. Hazardous travel, want to emphasize that this could be lasting into a good part of this weekend. Precipitation is going to end Saturday morning really quickly, but we're going to be quite cold Saturday night, Sunday night. Anything wet this weekend will refreeze at night. And that's also going to have an impact on folks if they lose power. While the icing is expected Friday night, Saturday morning, if we don't have power this weekend with lows in the teens Saturday night and in the 20s Sunday night, that could be issues for folks without power. So kind of want to highlight those things beyond the actual forecast itself. The big update this morning with the increased confidence, we're a little closer to the event. We did some fine tuning of our warnings. Everyone shaded in this lighter shade of pink is under a winter storm warning. This is predominantly for heavier snow up across the northern part of our area. As we get down toward this darker purple shading, these counties, this is where we expect the ice event, ice storm, significant ice amounts. This is probably the area of greater concern with power outages. Farther to the east, it's very tricky. We have a winter weather advisory for down east Carteret County and also northern Dare County. Especially down east Carteret, we're going to be right on the edge of ice. A lot of you may see plain rain. Too close to call. We wanted to put you in an advisory because you may have some light icing concerns, especially late Friday night. Northern Dare County, we mentioned this yesterday on the briefing. This is an area of concern for the potential of a change to snow as the storm pulls away. We have a couple inches of snow in the forecast for you now. That's why we have you under an advisory. Drew and others, check back. We may fine tune this forecast. We may need to update snow amounts higher if that storm strengthens quicker. So those are kind of our two areas on the edge that we're concerned adjustments may be needed. This is a generic timing. Stick with us. I want to talk about how you should really be looking at the hourly weather graph for precision. This is a 50,000 foot view. Generally speaking, we're totally fine today. We're totally fine early this evening. No concerns with schools, after school activities this evening. No concerns with people getting home from work. Everything's fine this evening. After midnight and especially toward 2 a.m. in the red shaded area, that's where temperatures start to fall below freezing or toward freezing, and we start to see some sleet and freezing rain, and probably not until 2 or 3 a.m. and in some cases closer to 5 or 6 down east Carteret County or especially west of Morehead City, where we see temperatures falling to freezing. This is a generic, again, 50,000 foot level. I really want you to look at the hourly weather graph for your specific county or city of interest to see specifics. More on that here in a second. One thing we do have going for us, we're in the 60s down toward the coast today for highs. It's going to take a while for things to ice up. So even though temperatures will be flirting with freezing late tonight, especially inland areas, it may take a while, but eventually temperatures are going to be in the 20s for highs, especially inland tomorrow. So once we do ice up, it's going to stick around through at least Saturday morning. This is our ice map. You'll notice some slight tweaks, but overall in terms of meteorology, we didn't change a ton. What we're doing now is we're fine tuning things. Yesterday, you probably remember this area of significant icing was a little wider, and that's because the confidence wasn't there yet. We'll continue to perhaps shrink and confine these areas as new model data comes in. For example, Kinston, Greenville, this area in the middle that we talked about yesterday, more confident that you will have some sleet mixing in. That's a good thing. That cuts down on snow and it cuts down on freezing rain. Up across the far north, probably unlikely to see much freezing rain because it's a snow event for you. For sure, the areas in orange and especially the areas in red, that's where we expect a couple tenths to perhaps more than a 1/4 inch of ice. I know those numbers They don't mean as much as a snowfall amount, but that would, in combination with some gusty winds, cause some power outages, and that's our concern. Onslow, Southern Jones, Craven, and then especially Western Carteret County. If you were with us yesterday, or if you're just joining us, this eastern edge from Englehart down through Swan Quarter, especially down East Carteret, including Morehead City and Newport, this is extremely tough. It's going to be a very sharp cutoff between nothing and a significant ice storm. I'm going to point that out here in a second on our hourly weather graph, but just to kind of put it in perspective, I wrote down some numbers. Cape Carteret, which is the western part of Carteret County, we expect temperatures to be around freezing by 4 to 6 a.m. on Friday. Beaufort, the eastern end of Carteret County, we do not expect temperatures to be around freezing until midnight Friday night, almost 18, almost getting in there, a significant difference, almost a half-day difference between the western and eastern end of the county. So again, Cape Carteret, western part of the county, daybreak Friday, not till midnight Friday night, Beaufort and areas near Morehead City. So again, if you're near this gradient, expect that the weather will vary by just a few miles, and please keep that in mind. So for a lot of us, significant ice will be the big story. For others, especially the farther north you live, it's going to be snow. So farther to the north, especially Greenville, Washington, Belhaven north, and especially Williamston, Plymouth, Columbia, across the northern part of Tyrrell, Washington, and also Martin counties, that's where we expect the heaviest snow, 4 to 6 inches of snow, because you will see less sleet and freezing rain. Here in the middle, still tricky. Again, New Bern up through Snow Hill and south of Greenville, we think a lot of sleet is going to mix in, and that is good because that's going to cut down on both snow and ice. So we think it's going to be an event where we have heavy snow to the north, heavy icing, Jacksonville, Havelock area, and then in the middle, maybe just sleet and not as big of a deal as some of those folks to the north and south. Drew and others, Sam up toward the Outer Banks, we don't expect anything Hatteras Island or even Ocracoke, but again, 2 to 3 inches right now in northern Dare. We may have to add another inch or two to that. So check back with the winter update this afternoon. If we have to upgrade you folks to a warning, that's because of the storm is expected to strengthen quicker and you'll see some higher amounts. Overall, the winds are not super strong. These are our gusts through Saturday, but when you're talking gusts 15, 20, 25 miles per hour, if we do get some icing on trees, especially Jacksonville, New Bern, Havelock, west of Morehead City, this area where we are forecasting more than a 1/4 inch of ice, that is the area where power outages may be enhanced because of wind. Otherwise, the gusts are not too bad. Peak gusts, Hatteras Island, and portions of the Outer Banks. Right now, still looks like a north to northeast wind, so we haven't had any updates to the coastal flooding. If we were to see anything, it would be Soundside, Ocracoke, and Hatteras Island, maybe some minor issues on Oceanside. But at this point, it looks like mainly a minor coastal flood event. As far as beyond the storm, on Saturday, we're going to be above freezing for a lot of the area. We're going to melt a lot of the snow and ice. That is good news. Farther inland, where we have the snow and ice, we may flirt with freezing, so we may not have as much melting. Whatever we don't melt on Saturday will refreeze Saturday night. So again, anything wet is going to freeze. We got temperatures in the teens. Black ice will certainly be a concern Saturday night. And then again, cold temperatures are going to be an issue for folks without power. We mentioned this yesterday. It stinks to not have power after a hurricane, but it's an inconvenience not to have air conditioning. To not have heat is potentially life-threatening. So really trying to hammer the message of carbon monoxide poisoning, issues with after storm event deaths. So please help us spread this message. We're pumping this hard on social media. If folks have a generator, make sure they know how to use it, and we don't have any issues with that. Sunday is our payoff day. That's when we should melt the majority, if not all, of the snow and ice. So that is good news. Temperatures are well into the 40s on Sunday and lots of sunshine. If we do have any lingering wet areas, we're going to be cold again Sunday night. I mainly put this in here for folks if they don't have power still. That will be an issue that you need to consider with temperatures in the 20s if we realize those power outages with that ice headed our way. One last graphic on the heating. Again, just trying to get that safety message out there. I know we focus a lot on the weather because we're the weather service, but we're trying to do a better job at messaging after the storm. You're going to see this in hurricane season as well. We're going to try to, really allow time for messaging after the storm itself. Unfortunately, that's when we have a lot of issues. People are prepared, they stay inside, they're ready for these storms, but then they start doing things that they shouldn't as the storm evolves or wraps things up.